everybody. Is the e.l.f. Flawless Finish Foundation. This one it's kind of been around the block, like a couple of people have sort of talked about it. It is in the most beautiful glass bottle and matte top lid. It feels way more expensive than what it actually is. I believe this one in Australia is around the $10 mark. So apparently this one is supposed to be full coverage. It does have a little bit of SPF in it. So just before I get into it, a little bit of background on my skin. My skin is quite normal with a little bit oily through the T-zone depending on the weather. So if it is sunny and muggy, I will have it break up around my nose and sort of on my forehead. But otherwise, I don't really have any problems with that sort of, I don't really have that kind of issue with my skin. I do have a couple of spots today, and with these videos what I wanted to do is apply the foundation and apply my regular products exactly the way I would any other day. So that means I'm going to use a primer, I am going to powder, I'm going to use concealer, I'm going to do all the things that I normally would do with these products, so I will treat them exactly the same as I would if it was just like a normal day and I wasn't actually doing a review video on them. Today I'm going to prime it with the e.l.f. Tone Correcting Face Primer. I quite like this one. It is silicone based, so it is quite like plasticky sort of feeling when you put it on the skin, and it is green, so it's the tone correcting, so I do have a little bit of redness, so hopefully this will help to even that out. While I normally apply my foundation with a damp sponge, I am going to apply half of it with a brush and then the other half with a sponge, just to see how the foundation works with the two different products and to see if there's one that it works better with and others that it doesn't. I normally find that the foundations I use work perfectly fine with a sponge. I don't think this will be any different, but I do want to see how it works with a brush, just in case any of you prefer to apply your foundation with a brush rather than the sponge. Okay, so the foundation comes with a pump, which is always handy. I prefer foundations with a pump rather than like chucking it out onto your finger or anything like that. Okay, pretty good. It is thick. It's not really runny, like it's not going anywhere. So what I'm going to do is just dab it on one half of my face, and I'll blend this side out with the dampened sponge. And then the other half I'll do with a brush. So it does have a slight sunscreen smell to it. It is blending out quite nicely with the sponge. It's not streaky or anything. I think the shade match is okay. That's the one thing that e.l.f. really needs to change, is I think they only have a couple of shades of this and they are basically light to light. There's no really dark ones or there's no really pale ones. They tend to all look the same. The shade I've got is Porcelain. I mean, I can definitely see a difference because I'm paler on that side than I am on that side, but I mean, it looks okay. It's definitely not full coverage. I can still see a couple of pimples that I have here, and I can see some redness in my cheeks. So it's definitely not full coverage with that amount, but I'll see what it's like if I just put the rest of that pump on that side and see how buildable it is. So that looks much better now with the second layer and the rest of that first pump. So this is one pump to this whole side of my face. It's much better coverage. It is starting to cover that redness much better. It feels really nice on the skin. It's not heavy. I don't feel like it's caking up. I don't feel like it's not difficult to blend out even with more foundation over the top of it. So I think it definitely is buildable. Now I'll see how it applies with the brush. And the one that I'm using is just the Real Techniques buffing brush. It does blend out with the brush, but I can already tell I prefer it with the sponge better. I think you get a higher coverage with the sponge than you do with the brush. And do more of a stippling action rather than like a circular blending one with the brush, to see if that helps it. I don't love the way that it looks with the brush compared to the sponge. I think the sponge looks far nicer. So I'm just going to zoom you in so you can see the foundation up close on my skin. Yeah, I don't know if you'll really be able to tell, but I can definitely see in a mirror that this side of my nose, which was blended in with the brush, and then this side, which was blended in with the sponge, it's a little bit more patchy on this side of the nose than it is there, and it's a bit more smooth on that side. But otherwise, like, as you can see, like, you know, my skin looks quite healthy. I think it looks quite nice. It's sorry, I'm looking up because that's where my viewfinder is, but it looks, I think it looks quite nice. I think it definitely needs to be set with a powder. It is a wet, it's still quite wet on my skin, so it definitely will need to be set with a powder. Okay, so now I'm just going to conceal. I'm not really going to worry about concealing the pimples so much because they're not, I don't think they look too bad as they are, but I will put a little bit of concealer underneath my eyes, and I'm just going to use the Age Rewind concealer. So now that I've done the concealer, I am going to go ahead and do my face powder and the rest of my makeup off camera, and I will be back in a second. Okay guys, I am back, and as you can see, I have my full face of makeup on. I have also changed my shirt because the other one was sitting far too high on my neck and it was uncomfortable. So I have a full face of makeup on. So the foundation held up really well through applying those other products. I found they went on really smooth, they didn't skip, there was no issue whatsoever going on over the top of it, and it's not breaking up or doing any of that nasty stuff as yet. I have, as I said before, I have baked, and I have also set this with a setting spray. So the one I've used is just the NYX Matte Finish makeup setting spray, because as I said, I use that every single day, so this is my normal routine. I want to see how the foundation performs under my normal circumstances. I don't have a lot planned for today. I'm just going to be filming quite a few videos and doing some editing and some blog post writing. So it's nothing extraneous, but we will see how the foundation holds up throughout the day, and I will check back in with you in a little while. Okay guys, so it is much later in the evening now. I've had this foundation on for nearly 12 hours. I applied it around 11:30 in the morning, and it is almost, or just gone past 11 at night. So I think it has actually stayed quite good for 12 hours. I normally don't have my makeup on this long, so this is kind of strange. But I think for a very, very cheap foundation, I think it has done really, really well. I am shiny and sweaty. It's a bit of a combination of the two, particularly under these two lights. And as I said, I have had this on for 12 hours, so I'm not surprised that I am a little bit sweaty. I did not blot or do any touch-ups throughout the day. This is exactly what my face has looked like since I put the makeup on. So I will zoom you in for a closer look. Okay, so now that we are at a scarily close zoomage, so you can see here that I am quite shiny and sweaty, as I said. I will do a blot test with this soon to see if the foundation comes off, but it's not breaking down really on my forehead. I mean, you can see the shine, but I don't think it actually looks truly broken down. Even on my nose, I think the foundation has done really well. It has broken up a little bit here, but other than that, it's actually quite good. Like, even around the sides of my nose, it's not really that patchy or faded, or at least not what I would have expected for a 12-hour wear. It has kept my face products on really well, and these are another, like, my face products. So my highlighter, my bronzer, my blush, and my eyeshadow is another product trials, which I did on the Tanya Burrs Cosmetics, so I will leave a link to that in the description down below if you wanted to check that out as well. But I think this is done really well. The foundation has kept all of those products on in place. They obviously have their own staying power too, but the foundation has helped to keep them on, and it's broken up maybe a little bit on my chin, but then when I do computer work I rest on my chin anyway, so that's, you know, fairly standard. But overall I am really quite impressed with this foundation. Now what I wanted to do was to see how it performs with a blotting sheet and then applying some face powder over the top. So I'm just going to blot now just where I am shiny. The foundation did come off onto the blotting sheet. I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but it is coloured, so it did come off with the blotting sheet. But having said that, it hasn't really left my face patchy. I mean, even where it has taken a little bit of the foundation off, like it has broken up a little bit more on my chin there, there's not really much product gone. I mean, it doesn't look like I've just swiped it all off or the whole foundation has come off. And I mean, I'm planning to blot it now anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But we'll just see how this works over the top to see if it can, you know, if it actually can have powder over the top of it or if it's just going to become a gluggy mess. So I'm just going to put the MAC Studio Fix powder foundation over the top. I'm just going to pat it on my nose and basically anywhere where it has broken up at all. I'm actually quite happy with that. It doesn't look powdery at all. It hasn't caused the foundation to glug up on my face, or at least not in my opinion anyway. As I said before too, my skin is normal to maybe tiny bit combination and oily through the T-zone, but that all depends on the weather for me. Today has been muggy, so I have been sweating a little bit and it has been a little bit hot, but not too bad. So I think for the temperature and my skin type, this foundation is really good for the price. I will leave a link to it on the e.l.f. website down below. I think this is a pretty solid foundation. I think the coverage of the foundation is still really lovely for every day. It is not the kind of coverage that I would want for a special occasion or anything like that. I would want something with a little bit more full coverage. But for every day, I think this is pretty good. Let me know in the comments below if you've tried this foundation and what you thought of it. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it and you like my product trial videos. I will leave a link, as I said, to the Tanya Burr video, which I did as my first product trials, in the description box below. So give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you have not already, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!